So we need to talk about something that I've seen in a bunch of comments here on the channel. I've seen it in a number of social media posts, and I agree with you. I agree with a bunch of you guys, and it's something we really need more of in this hobby, and that is 4S powered basher trucks. And I think Team Corrali was listening to a lot of people because they just released the Skeeter, and it is a really great looking truck. Now I know there's a bunch of people out there that were a huge fan of the Proline Pro MT 4x4 because it was a solid truck. It was fun for bashing, and this truck right here is basically in the same class. It's a powerful monster truck. This thing is built like a tank. It's got a great power system, and I think it's just going to kind of lead the pack for 4S powered trucks. So let's head over to the workbench and take a closer look at it. So here it is, the new Skeeter. It's got an interesting name, kind of fun and playful, but don't let that fool you. This thing is built solid. Now its base is actually like the Radix 4, and if you saw my review, you know I really like that buggy. I thought it was a lot of fun to drive, a great basher buggy, and this thing takes it to a whole new level. Obviously we've got a truck body and everything, but they went wild with bracing this thing and bulking it up so it can handle some serious bashing action. And what's great about 4S monster trucks or 4S basher trucks is they are controllable. They are really fun as far as jumping and just shredding dirt. And when it comes down to the electronics and stuff, like let's say the battery, it's affordable. It's a lot more affordable than let's say a 6S basher, even an 8S truck. This is a great bang for the buck style of platform. All right, now let's get into some of its features. It's 4-wheel drive, it's brushless. It comes ready to run. You will need to pick up a battery, either a 3S LiPo or 4S LiPo, depending on how wild you want to go with it, and some AA batteries, charger, the usual type of stuff that you need for a ready to run. But let's check out this body now. This kind of reminds me of I guess it's a baby Chronos. It's kind of a smushed down Chronos. Interesting look to it. We've got a roof scoop up top, a fake light bar on the roof. I do like the graphics on here. It looks a little funky shape-wise, but for bashing, I think it's gonna work well. Just the rounded top, I think, is gonna allow it to roll over in case you do roll the truck while you're driving it. But it is functional, and you know, they have the tethers on here for the body clips. They even slotted the post holes in the back, so any flex won't shatter the body. Really, I guess I like it overall. Now, what I really like is underneath the body. So you can see they have this foam block, and that basically helps support the body. So if you land on the roof, it doesn't just shatter the body right away. I like that. That should come on pretty much every basher truck nowadays that has any sort of gap between the body and the chassis. Now let's get into the chassis itself. And again, this is like the Radix 4. So we've got the really nice aluminum plate chassis underneath and just tons of bracing up top to support this thing. So we've got the usual composite braces down below in the front and in the rear. But look at these massive aluminum rods in the center section with these really bulked up supports, composite supports. And then they supported the shock towers as well with more bracing that goes down to this tube brace. So this is an aluminum plate here, and we've got composite blocks just securing everything together. I mean, this thing is really solid at this point. So any type of endos or nose dives from a big jump, I think, are just gonna be taken up by all the bracing throughout this truck. Really like the way that looks. Also new to the chassis here are these tall side guards. Just helps protect everything on the inside as far as rocks flying in or anything like that. And the battery obviously sits in this side, just the two Velcro straps to hold that in. And over here on the other side, we've got a receiver box, and just everything is really nicely laid out in here. Now up front, we got the top bumper, and then we got a lower skid bumper. But the top bumper, I just wanted to mention this really quick because it does have a lot of bracing behind it. Even though it's just kind of there for looks, there is a lot of bracing there. But what's really cool, and let me go and flip this thing over again so you can see it, is these skids. Check out these monster skids, both front and rear on this thing, kind of like what you see on their well, basically the same as what you see on their A-scale vehicles, but this really helps protect the chassis as well from wear. Really like that they added that to this kit. Now let's flip this thing back over and start talking about some of the suspension here. So we've got the massive shocks that we've seen on other Corrali A-scales before, like these new top protectors for the shock caps, and these shocks feel feel really, really good. The damping in here feels really heavy. It feels like they got a heavy oil, so when you go and land this thing, you're not slapping the chassis. It all depends on the type of air you're getting with this thing. I mean, BMX track jumps, you should be fine, backyard jumps, but if you're sending it, maybe you want to go up a little bit higher. But man, for right out of the box, I really like the feel of these shocks. Long travel, front and rear, and they're aluminum, and they've got these nice preload collars. You can go and adjust your ride height, but they get mounted up to this massive shock tower, both front and rear. Look at the thickness of the shock tower. That's got to be 5 millimeters. I didn't take out my calipers to check it, but that thing is just thick. And while I'm here, look at the size of these body mounts. Those are like 5th scale size. Everything on this truck is bulked up, and they've gone and made changes beyond the Radix 4. They didn't just take that platform, they went and bulked up a lot of stuff on this car. And I'm really excited to announce that they have new steering knuckles on here as well. The steering knuckles on some of the other vehicles, they did crack, and Corelli, they weren't aware of that when the trucks went out and something happened that they weren't aware of, but they went and they fixed it. They went and gave a lot of people replacements, but here on this truck, they went and bulked it up even more. There's a lot more webbing and bracing around these steering knuckles, so hopefully nothing should happen to these. These are really solid looking. But pivot ball front suspension, really nice look to the arm. It is their heavy duty arm. They've got a special name for it. It escapes me right now. Throw it in the comment section below. Let somebody know about it if you recall offhand, but really nice suspension arms on here. Sway bar up front as well, and pretty much the same going on in the rear, except we have H arms in the rear. We don't have pivot ball, but really good composite plastics on here. And they went with an adjustable tie rod up top, and I was told that this was a last minute change. They were actually going to give you the solid links, but they went and threw adjustable tie rods in here, which I like. I'm happy to see them on here because in case you ever do want to make an adjustment, it is there. And from what I was told, they didn't even bump up the cost. They just gave it to you guys so that you could have that adjustment option. Really nice looking hubs outside as well. Those are adjustable as far as your wheelbase goes. Here's a nice thick shock tower in the rear. Again, massive body mounts. Look at the travel on those shocks. Sway bar in the rear, just loaded with goodness. All right, now let's move on to the steering really quick because there's something here I really want to point out. Now, it's kind of your standard steering cranks, and you got your lower aluminum Ackerman link, but if you peek in just up top here, we've also got a top brace for the steering as well. We've seen some aluminum Ackerman bars bend in the past, so this top brace here should really help out in preventing anything from happening. Adjustable tie rods for the steering as well. Let me flip it around. Even aluminum servo arm. So again, everything is bulked up on this. It's like a tank. And speaking of tank-like things, let's talk about the drivetrain because it's bulked up as well. I'll start here in the center. So it's got the aluminum center diff cup, really cool, steel spur gear, of course, and you can kind of see it's got these bronze looking out drives everywhere on this. Front diffs, rear diffs, even the rear axles. These are spring steel, so these are a lot stronger than your standard steel outdrive cups. So again, they've gone ahead here, bulked up this car. Ball bearings throughout the driveline, of course, gear differentials, they are oil filled. And then we've got CVs up front and dog bones in the center and dog bones in the rear. So really good looking drivetrain on this. Now look at the size of that wheelie bar out there, massive wheel out back, and the arm of it is adjustable. So you can go tweak that if you want to. Now let's talk about the electronics. We've got a very prop 7225 steering servo in here, high torque metal gear. That's really good. Over here, we've got the Curon 725 4-pole high torque motor, plenty of power. I know that from experience with the Radix 4. And then we've got the Torx 135 speed controller. It is programmable. There is the on-off button, really cool location for that. It is fitted with the XT90 plug, and we also need to talk about these tires. Forgot to talk about the tires. So really good looking black spoke wheels on here. I did pull this wheel off, really chunky base around where the hex is so it won't smash out if you're going and tumbling this thing or anything like that. And then we've got these large lug tires, and it's kind of a firm rubber on this, so these should last pretty long. Almost feels like a urethane insert in there as well. Don't quote me on that one, but certainly has that feel to it, so they shouldn't expand too much. but this truck looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Let me show you what else comes in the kit. Not too much, actually. We've got your manuals that you should read through, just your bind plug and antenna tube, and then we've got this new radio here. This is the CT2R, and I've seen people say this is an Apsima radio, but I'm sure they're just getting it from the same supplier, and it looks like it's going to be a good radio to use. Has your basic trim functions. Now it's the usual time where I say, let's go out and drive this, but there's really nowhere for me to go and bash this thing right now. The BMX track is just mud and ice, and my other bash spot is the same. So I can't really run this thing yet, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go out and speed test it. Let's go see how fast it is, and we'll leave the action portion to a part 2 of the video. So let's go outside and give this thing some throttle. It's time to speed test. I've got an SMC4S pack in there. It's an 8,000 milliamp pack, and I've got a brand new GNSS in there because I already blew up 3 of those things, ejecting them from cars, but it is time to see how fast the Skeeter goes. I'm gonna send this thing down here, and hopefully no traffic pops up here. All right, I think that's enough. Spin this thing back around. Here we go. Full throttle. It's clamped. Nice and straight. Look at that thing. Sweet. It's got to hit top speed there. Let's see what we got. Nice throttle control on this thing. All right, let's see what we got. Stop. Read. 40 miles an hour. I think it's supposed to hit 46. Let me do another run. All right, here we go. Another test run. Send it up the road nice and easy. Just gonna do a check here. We're good. Spin it back around. Here we go. Full rip. That's flat punched. You hear those tires singing on that thing. All right, that's got to be enough. Nice braking on this. Really good braking. Yeah. I like that speed. Here we go. All right. Stop this. Read. 42. All right, we gained 2 more. Maybe we should do 1 more run. Start. Full throttle right off the bat. Just punched it. Stop. Read. 41. All right, maybe there's supposed to be a gear change to get the 46 that's on the box, but we hit 42 with it. That was pretty good. All right, let's head back to the workshop. All right, we got a few top speed runs in. That was a lot of fun, but what was really cool was when I hammered on the throttle, this thing just takes off and goes. It is a rocket. It tracks nice and straight. Very little steering input from me, and it was cool to just watch this thing fly by me. Now, the top speed was 42 miles an hour. The first run was 40, then I hit a 42, and then the third run was 41 miles an hour. So it's not the 46 mile an hour top speed that they have listed on the box. And so I took a closer look at that, and there's a little asterisk next to it. And I found a paragraph elsewhere on the box, and it said with the proper gear ratio and a 4S battery pack and a skilled driver. So if you want to hit that 46 mile an hour mark, you're gonna have to change your pinion gear on here. But 42 is a pretty good speed right out of the box for a 4S truck, and that's gonna be plenty for backyard bashing and going for some big air fun. This truck, I think, is going to be a blast. It just seems really responsive. Everything just feels really precise when I was driving it. I took it around for a couple more laps on the asphalt, just having a blast with it, ripping around on the pavement. So I think it's gonna have a nice precision feel. I think it's gonna be responsive in the air, whether you need to throttle it or hit the brakes or counter steer. I think it's going to be a true blast to drive when we finally hit some off-road terrain with it. I'm really looking forward to it. One thing I did notice was with this heavy battery pack in here, there is some slap. You know, when I went outside, dropped it down on the ground, it did slap with the heavier battery pack in here. But, you know, I will report that when we go and finally jump this thing, do stunts with this thing, and just do some general backyard bashing in part 2. So if you want to see that, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. I'll have links in the video description for you. And while you're down there, let me know what you think of the truck in the comment section and throw the video a like. We'll see you back soon for some more RC Driver videos.